The moment I saw his shadow stepping onto the rooftop that night, I knew my life was about to change, either for the better or for the worst. My name is Helena Montez. I am 35 years old, senior bank executive in one of the largest institutions in the city. And behind my polished smile, there is an ambition I have protected like a secret vault. Ambition that came from watching doors slam in my face when I was young. Ambition that whispered to me at night that I would never let anyone own me except myself. We had been together for 2 years. He was charming, precise, and calculated in a way that almost mirrored my own nature. When he led me to the glittering rooftop that overlooked 1,000 lights in the city, the wind cold and sharp against my skin, I thought his voice carried over the hum of traffic far below, trembling just enough to make my heart race. And then, there it was. He took my hand, dropped to one knee, and asked me to marry him. For a brief second, I saw every possible future flash before my eyes. Laughter over breakfast, quiet nights by the fire, and the kind of partnership that could make me believe in forever. I said yes without hesitation. But 3 months later, only days before the wedding, called me into a small café where the scent of burnt espresso clung to the air like bad news, and told me it was over. No explanation that made sense, no decency beyond a hollow apology. He looked at his watch as if my heartbreak had a time limit, then stepped out into the rain without an umbrella. I sat there until the cold in my chest turned into steel. Betrayal has a taste. It is metallic, dry, and it coats your tongue until all you crave is justice. What he did, the humiliation and the quiet rumor mill that followed, could have broken me. But I am not built to break. I am built to repay debts in full. I started digging, not through the dirt, but through bank records, contracts, and his tidy portfolio. His company, a small but promising design firm, was struggling, though he hid it well. I knew every investor in the city who could save him, and I knew every button to press to make sure none of them touched his sinking ship. I stayed silent, smiling, shaking hands while watching his numbers bleed. And then, when the moment was right, I made my move. Through a shell investment, I bought the majority stake in his firm. The shock on his face when he walked into the boardroom and saw me at the head of the table was worth every cold night I had spent alone. He stumbled through greeting, as if unsure whether to call me Helena or ma'am. But in that room, I was the storm. I laid out new policies, redirected the company toward my vision, and gave him a new title, Junior Project Coordinator. The man who once towered over me on a rooftop now had to knock before entering my office. There is a question people ask when they hear this story. Was it revenge or justice? I answer that it was survival. Love without respect is a slow poison, and I refuse to sip it. If you love Helena's journey, like and subscribe to join her next chapter. In the months that followed, I thrived. My department at the bank hit record numbers. My private investments tripled in value, and I used the profits from his company to fund community programs teaching young women about financial independence. I watched him struggle to adapt, filing reports for me, reporting to the very person he once thought he could discard. There were moments when he tried to regain control, quiet requests for meetings that I always declined, letters I never opened. But I had learned that reopening the door to someone who once slammed it on you is just invitation for another blow. I lived my life with a clarity that burned away the last of the hurt. But I will admit, there were nights when I stood at my apartment window, staring at the city lights, remembering the rooftop where it began. Those lights looked different now, sharper, colder, but also cleaner. And in that reflection, I saw myself not as a woman scorned, but as a woman who chose to take the ending into her own hands. People think power is just about money, but they are wrong. True power is the ability to control the meaning of your own story. The world may have expected me to be another sad tale of love lost, another cautionary note about mixing romance and ambition, but I rewrote that ending. He called off the wedding, but I finished the chapter my way. And no matter who steps onto the rooftop of my life next, they will know this. Once you put the ring in my hand, you cannot take away my fire. That is mine, always. Join me next time for another chapter. You will not want to miss what comes next.